G'day, punters. Welcome to a special edition. Tonight we are covering the country championships, and I'm joined by none other than Mick Wallace from Sky Racing and Mitch Lloyd from Patriot Bloodstock. Firstly, Mick, looking very sharp there, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks, Gano. Yeah, I've just come from work, so that's why I'm a little bit overdressed. I wouldn't normally go to this much trouble, but now I thought there wasn't much point changing.
Mate, looking $1 million and wouldn't have it any other way. Mitch Lloyd, Patriot Bloodstock. Many of the people on Twitter, social media, and our YouTube channel will know you from the great filly we got there, mate. How are you?
Yeah, the Princess of Albury, mate. Yeah, I'm going good, thanks, mate. Standard Wednesday for me. I got down to Canberra races and mixed with a bit of the country folk, and drove home and looking forward to ripping through this country championship field.
Outstanding. And the country championship worth a cool $500,000. And punters, we are blessed today because we've got two of the best country and provincial form analysts. Is that the word? Tipsters. Analysts would be the correct term. Geez, you can tell I've had 2 glasses of red. All right, gents, we're going to get straight into it. So we're going to talk about the track. We haven't had much rain in Sydney today, which has been an absolute blessing. Currently rated a heavy 10, though, so can't get much worse than that. 15 to 30 mils of rain forecast until Friday. A bit of a disaster on Saturday, potentially 6 to 15 mils, but there was 6 to 15 mils done today. Put my weatherman hat on. We're going to be starting on a heavy 10. It's going to be pretty bottomless. My prediction, middle draws landing in the running line to be ideal with the best going lanes 6 to 10. Mick Wallace, do you agree?
Yeah, look, I agree. I think that's the way the track's going to play for sure. Getting out to the centre of the track. And I think horses that are drawn in the centre of the line get first crack at it, you would think. I think, horses that, maybe drawn towards the middle, probably the spot to be. If you're drawn wide and you're an on-pace horse, that might leave you a little bit vulnerable. But, yeah, I think they'll be getting off the inside. But as we've seen over the last sort of month or two, when you get these real bottomless tracks, I don't think the lanes are quite as pronounced. It's just pretty much uniform heavy across from inside to out. So we'll see how it plays.
Yeah, agree with that. And Mitch, any opinion on how the track will play, mate?
No, mate, just off the back of what Mick said, I don't think the lanes myself are that important. I don't think the barriers are that important. I'm just looking for fit horses, and I'm looking for the real classy horses. The real good ones will get through it, even if they don't, I guess, excel in it. But I'm looking for the horses that have had sort of recent runs, and I'm looking for the real fit horses. There's horses here that have had runs in between their heat and now, and that's the sort of edge that I'm looking for.
Outstanding. I did go through that today, Mitch, and I noticed I think it was about 49 days was the longest break for all those runners. But yeah, most definitely some runners there that was one in particular was on an 8-day turnaround and a couple on 13 days. Righto, boys, let's get straight into it. From the top, some good form around here. I won't say it, but someone will say it, I've no doubt. Number 1, Cavalier Charles, Jamie Carr, $6.50 with tab. Mick Wallace.
Well, he ticks plenty of boxes, doesn't he? There isn't too many horses engaged that are in better current form. He's won 3 from 4 this preparation. He's got that really good turn of foot, and he's coming through the championship wildcard, which we know has been just such a tremendous form reference for the final over the course of time. And great win strike rates, won 5 from 11. Good wet track credentials, perhaps not quite as a horse that hasn't really only ever 2 heavy track runs for one placing, but I get the feeling he'll get through it. Nice draw, and I can see why plenty are tipping him.
Mitch, what are your thoughts on Cavalier Charles? I didn't hear the buzzword from Mick Wallace. Maybe you've got it in you.
Oh, I've got the buzzword. Beaten first up by Shelby 66 first up at Bega.
There it is.
I think I'm on the same passage again. Love the form around the wild card. I'm going to refer to it throughout our show. They didn't have much luck. They found Nick Haywood, and he's partnered up with his favourite horse, another one. But Jesus Christ, they've landed the jackpot. J Carr, mate, I've got it in my numbers, and yeah, the buzzword Shelby 66.
Absolutely. Comes off a 13 days, fifth up, will be fit, and those form lines, well, Shelby 66. Enough said. All right, we move on to number 2. Drawn barrier 1 for mine. That's a negative. J Mac on board, massive positive, naturally. $4.60 with tab. Mick?
Yeah, speaking with Mitch about Far Too Easy off air, I think we might be thinking along similar lines here. There was a lot to like about the win to Grafton, got a long way back and really hit the line strong. I'm just thinking the way the track could be playing, if we're dealing with a heavy 10, this fella's come up with gate number 1. I don't know if that'll be a help or a hindrance. You've got the best man on top to sort that out in J-Mac, but I just thought there were a few little things that working against him, but and I thought maybe under the odds at this stage, although you've got a horse that's had 8 starts for 5 wins, he's obviously above average.
And Mitch, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are similar to Mick. I've got a knock on the heat a little bit. I had a big rap on Parksville, and he sort of hasn't lived up to my expectations, and he was sort of in the placings there in the heat. My big concern is that, and I know I'm a little bit probably weird about this with my horses, but my big concern is the relocation from Wollongbar. They haven't had much luck. The town's underwater, and it's got a sentimental vote from me. But Gano, if you were playing in a golf tournament and you strolled down, you've been sleeping in your own bed for a month, and you stroll down to Mona Vale and shoot a couple under, it'd be expected. But if you stayed in a motel in Canberra for a month and then had to go play Royal Queanbeyan, I probably wouldn't expect the same results as what you'd get strolling down at Mona Vale. So, mate, that's my analogy on it. I'm a knock at the price. I'm a little bit of knock at the heat. They found barrier 1 and J-Mac in a normal everyday Saturday race. That's probably a massive bonus, but I just think probably barrier 1 on this track might not be as good as what we think. As I said, the connections deserve a bit of luck. The town's underwater, and I'm thinking of the people in Wollongbar, but I'm just going to take it on a little bit at the price. That's all. It's obviously a classy horse. I'm just going to take it on a little bit.
Love it, Mitch. Firstly, I flattered that you think I'm going to shoot a couple under Mona Vale. That's very nice. And secondly, absolutely, for the town of Wollongbar, I think our hearts will be cheering, but potentially our heads may be against here. What I will say, punters, if you are keen on this one, obviously J-Mac factor, this horse on my database, this horse's ratings was on a soft 6 with its career best rating. So you do need a push in regards to handling the wet track. That's the wettest it's been, but that's been its best performance. So whatever that means, it means. We go to number 3, another one for Nick Haywood from barrier 8, probably more of a favourable barrier, and $9.50 with tab.
Yeah, well, I suppose he's been the horse that I've been most interested in all along, ever since we've seen him win there at Wagga and do it quite cosily in the end. He's been the one that I've kind of wanted to be with, but I'm just starting to backpedal as we get closer to the big race on the weekend. Mainly due to the fact I'm just envisaging the race panning out perhaps a little bit different than what I might have first thought, with horses looking to get to the centre of the track and they fan. I just thought he might be a little bit vulnerable because we know he's got that tactical speed and they're going to have to ride him positive. But Nick Haywood, they get on so well. They've had, I think Nick's had 7 rides on the horse for 4 wins, a couple of runner-up finishes. As far as the wet track's concerned, handled soft in the past and has gone okay on a couple of heavy track runs. The distance, no issue. There's no doubt that he's a leading light, but I'm just starting to go a little bit cold on him. And at one stage, he was my on-top selection.
Question for you, Mick. Sorry to interrupt here, Mitch. I noted when I was going through the form here, and I probably definitely wouldn't have spent as much time on the form as you guys here, but is one of probably only 2 horses that has stepped up to beyond 1,500 and then gone to 1,800 as well. There was another runner. I think it potentially might have been Zoo Station. We'll get to that later. But another one. The 1,500 gets the 1,800. If we're talking a testing 1,400 metres here, do you think that the ability to get to that 1,550 in a previous prep is going to be in its advantage, mate?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. With those testing conditions, he's going to be up there. There's going to be very few chinks in his armour. We know he's just going to keep on keeping on. And, yeah, you might be right. It's going to feel probably more like a mile than 1,400 metres. And he's a horse that has been to that, that extra pain barrier. He stretched out over a trip and got the pass mark there. So, I suppose we don't have those real standout stars probably lining up this year. Like, in previous years, we've had horses that have mixed it in black type races from time to time. And I just think as of what we've got to deal with here turning up on Saturday, he's a horse that just rarely lets anyone down. And I think that's a good point you made. The fact that he has been tested beyond the 7 furlongs is a plus on the rain-affected track.
Mitch, any thoughts on another one, mate?
Mate, not much to add. Just, you look back through history, and I can't go past sort of the SP prices. The SP's nice and short in his heats. He goes to the final, the SP's short, and he runs well. Like, that's a good enough guide in any sort of race. Nick Haywood sticks. Like, I wouldn't read too much into that. Nick's a very good bloke and a loyal bloke, and he was always going to stick with the horse. Gary Colburn, great conditioner of horses. I've got the Wagga Heat rating high compared to some of the others, and I've got him in my numbers just off history. He's been there, he's done it, and I think he can do it again.
Lovely. There you go, punters. Pretty good push there. Unfortunately, Mick has dropped off, but we'll see what he comes up with at the end of the show. Number 4, Jen's probably need a bit of a hand with this one. I think I did back it, though. Testator Silens. Barrier 13, JBO. Yep.
Yeah, mate, this horse is a surprise packet for me. The horse from Braidwood, I actually drove through Braidwood today, and going back to what you were talking about, needing a nice, tough miler of a horse, I think this horse, although he hasn't won over the mile yet, I should say, mate, you want to be a tough bugger to live up in the mountains there in Braidwood. There's not much warm weather up there. Everything he does, he just keeps improving. He's 2 from 2 on the soft, 2 from 2 on the heavy. Every time they produce the horse, he seems to improve. He comes out of probably the form heat, other than the wild card for mine. The narrow heat, 2 the 9s is a nice horse. I think Cavalier Charles was behind it. Phillipsburg was behind it. Come out and won a race at Canterbury today. So he might slide under the radar for some, not mine. I've got him in the numbers, and he's my sort of what price? He $13, something like that.
Mate, he's actually $9.
Yeah, I had him marked in early markets as 13, so I've got him as my each way banker for the race. So I'm a big fan of the horse, and I think he's tough as they come, and I'll be cheering him home.
Anything to add there, Nick?
He's going to be popular, isn't he? Because I think punters love winners, and he's had 6 starts for 5 wins. He's only been defeated once, and that was at the hands of Brave Enough in a highway of 1,200 metres. And look, he's got plenty of upside, and it might seem as if it's all coming up a bit too quick, but Connections have got no option. He's had 6 starts for 5 wins. They can't wait till next year because he's already recorded the maximum amount of victories. But look, he's got X factor. He's probably got the right draw, and he's had 4 starts on wet tracks for 4 wins, which includes 2 heavy track victories.
Seems like a pretty good push there, lads. Right, we move on to number 5, Zeus Station, and one of those runners that I mentioned before, Mick, that has been up to 1,500 metres and then 1,800 metres in town and has put in on both occasions. Zeus Station with Anthony Cavello, barrier 16, probably not as bad as punters would think. $12 with tab. Thoughts, mate?
Look, Zeus Station, I'll be cheering her on for sure. She's from the West is Best category out there at Bathurst. Gaynor Williams, she's a marvellous conditioner of horses. She just, she's kind to her horses. She races them sparingly, and she's always got a very talented horse in the yard. And at the moment, she's got quite a few. 6 wins from 12 starts. She's placed her beautifully, and I don't think the wide draw is any disadvantage at all. Was a runner-up at Warwick Farm there, going back 3 starts. Behind Miss Redoble, and was never on the track. And you would, even if she was to sit 3 and 4 wide with cover, I don't think that's such a bad thing for her. Her win at Hawkesbury was tremendous. The Mudgee qualifier win just showed tremendous intestinal fortitude to kick on and hold off the stablemate tags. And she's a must include for the exotics for mine.
And Mitch, mate, any thoughts on Zeus Station?
No, not much more to add. From the King of the West, Mick Wallace. It's hard to top his assessment of these horses. One thing I will say, fillies and mares haven't had a great record in the race. I think Gracie Bell might be the only filly or mare that's ever won the race in its history. When you've got such a compact field and such an even field, I'm just looking for an edge, and maybe that history of fillies and mares not sort of performing in the race is something that I've come up with, and I may end up with egg on my face. My heart says yes, yes, yes. Gaynor Williams, Choco Cavallo. You wouldn't meet 2 nicer people in country racing. I wish I could turn 5 or 6 into 3 or 4 numbers. I'm going to end up with egg on my face. I wish them all the best, but I see it just on the edge of the place getters.
And punters, just beware, just a bit of something from my angle here. So you'll note that Zoo Station has had one Randwick Heavy 8 run, 10th of July 2021. It was 14 lengths off them and was given next to none and managed to finish within 3.3 lengths. So Heavy, Randwick 1400, finished off fast, bit more speed probably in this race. Big chance. Where do you go? Number 6, Edits. 6, what, he got $5.50 with Tabs Keen there. Trader's pretty smart. Tabs Keen. What do we got on Aaron Bullock? He's on fire. Mick Wallace.
Well, he's my man, Aaron Bullock. I think he's as good as any jockey going around. And if he didn't have issues with his weight and what have you, I'm sure he'd be an absolute top liner. And he gets his opportunity to win a big race, and I'd love to see it happen. Edit's always been a horse that's had a big boom on him. He's only had, 4 runs since arriving here in Australia, ex-New Zealander. As far as wet track form goes, there isn't a lot to recommend. I think he's had 3 goes on softish tracks for 1 placing. Obviously, Cody Morgan will have left plenty of meat on the bone. He's timing it to peak on this particular Saturday. And look, he's got a reasonable draw. He'll probably settle just off them and probably midfield. If he can thread a passage, he's going to be very hard to beat. He's always had that massive wrap on him. And he's one of the main chances.
Before I pass to you, Mitch, a question, and you can feel free to pass this straight on to Mick and throw him under the bus. Swiss Ace, by memory, potential wet tracker?
Yeah, mate, know a lot about Swiss Ace. One of my good friends, Graham Brown, was actually Mick Mare's training partner at Warwick Farm many moons ago, and Mick Mare had a bit to do with Swiss Ace. Mate, bread and butter stallion, gets his winners. So absolute no knock from me at all. Mate, just touching on a little bit what Mick said. Bullock, if he was 2 kilos lighter, he'd be punching around Rosehill and Randwick every Saturday for me. I think the guy's a freak. He was very well managed by one of the Twitter gods in Johnny Walder for a long, long time. And when he was battling his weights, and they was so astute. When he got his weight right and he got into a rhythm, they didn't miss. So I've got it a massive tick for me, Bullock. Not much more to add. Loved the New Zealand form coming here. Loved its form since it's got here. Loved its Classic Legend run. I've got him high up in the numbers, and a very astute trainer, very astute owners and management group. I think it'll be there when the whips are cracking.
Outstanding. Boys, move on to number 7, Anethole, barrier 14. It's a bit of a query for mine, this one. Tom Sherry on board, $10, Mick Wallace.
Yeah, I touched on the fact that on-pace horses drawing wide, they could be a little bit vulnerable. I think he fits into that category. He's probably surprised me a little bit. I know he's always had talent, but he was very tough winning there at Tamworth in what was a very strong heat, beat Commando Hunt and Banju. I think he probably needed to draw soft and perhaps not get a lot of pressure early if he's going to run out the strong 1,400 metres. I've got a few ahead of him.
Mitch?
Yeah, I'm similar thought process with Mick. I could be completely wrong here, and Mick and I have discussed this off camera, just the way that Australian Bloodstock have graded their horses and that they tried to, they accepted and scratched with Ren's Day and Edit and took them to the wild card. I'm reading into it that Anethole was their 3rd or 4th pick, and they rated the wild card that was going to be tougher than the Tamworth heat, and they got the job done and got him across the line and got him into it. I could be completely wrong. I don't know anyone in Australian Bloodstock, and this is a story I've created in my head, but I've got him, the Australian Bloodstock, 3rd or 4th pick, which has him, in my eyes, probably just outside of the placings, but once again, astute management team, astute trainer, astute owners. If I'm right, I've got Edit in front of him, and he's the 2nd of the Australian Bloodstock runners.
You're not alone there, Mitch. I've got a story in my head as well. I reckon the Zoomon's run in the Tulloch Stakes was good for its derby chances, and the boys have absolutely hosed me. So we've all got a story on our head. But what I will say is, if you do like Anethole, go back, have a look at the replays, because the horse we're about to talk about next, Commando Hunt, $17 with tab. No disrespect to the jockey that was on previous. I think it might have been Brooke Stour. but gets naturally well. There's not many jockeys in the world you can throw Nash on and say that it's not an upgrade. $17. It was clearly a better run, Mick.
I agree. Of course, I'm warming to. I really get the feeling that the way the track could be playing on Saturday could play into his hands. He's had 4 heavy track runs for 2 wins and a runner-up finish. He covered plenty of ground there at Tamworth in the qualifier and only just went under behind Anethole. We love #Stour Power, but Nash Rule, I think, will really suit this fellow. Look, he's probably going to be, in the second half of the field with cover, blending into the race at the right time. And even though he finished runner up there at Tamworth, the 2 previous runs were very good too. He was very unlucky at Randwick, going back to early February behind the likes of Testator Silens and Anethole, and even the run at Rosehill when 4th there behind Golden Point. Shelby 66 was second in that race. It was a really good run. And look, I think $17. That's stealing at the moment. Looks over the odds for mine.
Mitch.
Mate, yeah, but he's said it all, guys. He's the big improver out of the Tamworth heat. There's no doubt about it. Nothing says, New South Wales country racing more than the last name Crockett either. I wish Cameron all the best. It took some guts to move from Mudgee, where he's probably the first to admit that he was a big fish in a little pond, and take on the big boys in the Hunter over there at Scone, with not a lot of great support either. And he's done nothing but excel since he moved there. So I wish Cameron all the best with his runner. Astute booking in Ashburilla, as it's been touched on. He fits in the zoo station category for me. My heart says yes. I've got him just outside of the placings, but if he happened to go across the line first, there wouldn't be a more happier person in the state. Cameron does a great job with his horses, and I wish the connections all the best.
Outstanding. Look, the last thing I'll say is if you happen to go watch that, it was rated a heavy 8. If you happen to go watch that replay, it was pouring. And the horse didn't exactly, and obviously it's jumped from barrier 12, right? So no fault of the jockey. She's produced an absolute ripping ride, but has just gone the hard yards, done well. No one likes winning more than Nash. So for mine, that's a great bet.